and welcome to part number 3. The body is gone to the body shop. We're left with a motor and transmission and a mystery. The mystery of the spark plug in the hose. Anyways, we're going to disassemble the transmission right now, pull the bell housing off, take a look at the clutch, then we're going to take a look at the bottom of the motor. Let's go. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take this, I guess they call it a transfer case, cover off.
And here's a shout out to the young man standing in the background. He really should be thinking more about how I'm going to grade him poorly for not wearing the safety glasses instead of trying to make a guest appearance in my video.
Alright, so the immediate task is to get this side plate off. I don't think it's going to be stuck on there very tight. No, it's not. Now, full disclosure, I don't actually have the right tool for this job. There's going to be a gear here, and I already know I do not have the right tool for it, but we're going to make it work. And here we go for the reveal. There we go.
Whenever you have a nut that you don't want to move, you have to peen it over. You use a chisel to make an indent in it so that it locks it in. I'm just undoing those locks right now from the last service. Notice my crazy angled hands. That's all for you, baby. The things I do so that you can see what's going on.
So those little pieces broke out of there. That means I'm probably going to have to buy a new nut. That's okay.
This is the nut that requires the special tool that I don't have. Notice the 4 slots. We'll talk more about this nut and the tool I require later. But in the absence of said tool, I'm doing it the old school way. Don't get all judgy on me. I won't use this method to put the nut back on.
It wasn't on that tight.
If you're confused as to what these 3 gears are for, let me explain. In a typical front-engine, rear-wheel drive vehicle, the power comes from the engine, then it goes to the transmission, and then it goes to the rear end of the vehicle. This is all in a linear motion. In the case of this transversely mounted power plant, the power has to come out from the engine, and it has to somehow do a 180 and get into the transmission. That's what these 3 gears are for. They transfer the power, hence transfer case. Don't forget, this was the 70s. Everything was rear-wheel drive. This was cutting-edge technology.
So this little nut right here, I'm going to try and buy a new nut for this, and I'm also going to try and make a tool. The tool is probably a couple hundred bucks, but I think I could probably make this.
This was the easy snap ring. This would actually be a whole heck of a lot easier if I had a service manual for the car. Now I could edit out my screw-ups, but I like leaving them in. It shows I'm real. What I should be focusing my energy on right now is that lower bearing. There's a surprise waiting for me behind there that I don't realize till much later on. And right about now I'm having a pretty thorough Homer Simpson moment.
I am Mark. S-M-R-T. I mean S-M-A-R-T.
Yes, I am.
It's at this point right about now that I've realized I've euchred myself. Totally did this ass backwards.
Something on this.
Oh, I've called in for some help from the man who knows it all. Maybe he's got a secret, but there's nothing he can do.
Okay, pull it again. Alright, so I've been struggling to get that casing off, the bell housing as they would have it, and I've just realized that I'm missing a snap ring. I got the outer snap ring, but there's an inner snap ring as well that I've got to work its way out. So let's try and get to the inner snap ring now.
They're not long enough in there?
I think I need more of a square pair.
And here comes the young buck. He wants to see what all the fuss is.
Like this pair right here.
Ooh, holy fuck, never seen anything like that.
As you can see, I've gone backwards. I've had to put the bell housing back on, then I removed that bearing, and now I see about 2 inches in the hole there's a snap ring that I gotta fish out. Thanks, Ferrari.
There we go.
Ooh, no way.
take a look at this clutch. Well, it doesn't actually look that bad.
I'm guessing that this clutch has less than 1,000 miles on it. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm thinking I might want to reuse this clutch. What do you guys think? Looking at the flywheel now, we can see all these little lines in it. This is another clue that the clutch is brand new, as these are the cutting tool marks from a flywheel cutter. These lines would not be visible on a worn-out clutch. This means it was just resurfaced. I don't know why, but I've been told that patience is not my strong suit. I haven't even gotten changed into my work clothes yet, and I'm into the flywheel with the tools. That little Brillo pad wasn't doing much. Time for the bigger tools. It doesn't actually look that bad. I'm not too concerned about having to replace the clutch. What I really don't want to do is resurface this flywheel again. I'm going to get a second opinion on it. Pardon the interruption from the regular programming, but I'm pretty darn excited to show you my new toolbox. It's been 25 years and the old one's just fallen apart. Well, look at that there, a new toolbox for Lou. That's the toolbox I had from when I was a 20-something-year-old, and it's served me well. That's just like a spare one that I keep lots of knickknacks, and that one there and that one there are going bye-bye, and they're being replaced by that one, and that's a Matco, and looks pretty snazzy if you're asking me. Yes, the toolbox distracted me. I'm refocused now. Let's take a look at how we're going to get this engine separated from the transmission. You can see here, way down here, we've got the oil pan for the engine, and we've got the oil pan bottom of the transmission. But you can see here they kind of share the same space. There's no casting difference between that part and that part. So while the oil pan is definitely separate, it's not a shared oil pan, it's in the space where it would normally be just an oil pan for the engine. Looking at the back of the motor, we see the rear main seal, we see the housing that houses the seal. That's a lot of housing just for that seal. It's kind of odd, because it's got this whole assembly right here on bolts, and it's essentially its only job is to house that rear main seal. Now, I know it appears that I'm going for some film noir look, but actually it's me trying out a new camera and lens combination. I took the lens off my Nikon, got an adapter, and put it on my Panasonic. But I screwed up multiple times. I'm sure you've already noticed all my kind of, sort of, out of focus shots. Sorry about that. So everybody keeps asking me how I'm going to remember how all of it goes back together. Well, first of all, I'm trying to be very organized with my nuts and bolts, and I'm bagging everything, labeling it, keeping as many bags as I can with as much detail as I can. So for example, with here I'm going to put my label of bolts, rear cover bolts, into the bag, into a bin. All the bins are sort of designed to be different parts of the car. For example, this is going to be just the transmission / engine bin. I haven't set it up. I'll go in there and put everything in there nicely, and that's about it. Don't look, I'm using an adjustable wrench.
I drained it, but
I don't know, is that actually all that's supposed to be? Copy that. It's not a 1,000-pound engine. Making this thing cry.
they all cry.
No, it's just this pin here doesn't fit properly. Oh. See how it's like cocked like that? I thought it was gonna snap.
You're in front of the camera, Terry.
Oh, no, you're not. Oh yeah, you're still in front of the camera.
Oh, no. It's okay, I got 2 angles.
Even though I drained the oil early on, there's still a fair amount left in there, so I'm sucking it out right now, out of the engine oil pan. As I promised earlier in the video, we were going to flip the motor over and take a look at the bottom side of it. But that didn't work out so well today, and all I ended up with is a massive piling coolant on the floor. We'll save that project for another day.
Thing's surprisingly heavy. You ready? I've also figured out the mystery of the spark plugs in the hose. It turns out I forgot that this car was missing the heater system. So the heater system for the cabin of the car, it was missing and capped off. This is the heater hose that off the cylinder head that sends the hot water to the front of the vehicle. When they removed the heater system in the car, they just stuffed the spark plug in that hole and blocked off the coolant. Kind of crazy, but we'll be restoring that, as I've already bought the parts to put the heater system back in. That'll be a project for another day, but at least I know what I'm dealing with now and why the spark plug was in the hose. Anyways, thank you very much for watching part number 3. Part number 4, we're going to start tearing apart the cam belts, timing belts, whatever you want to call them. We're going to go to the front of the motor. We're also going to go back here because I think there might be a problem with this transmission. I think the shift rob has popped off inside the transmission because there's no real... It's not doing anything. I think it's got to go back into a detent. I think maybe when I pulled the transmission out, maybe I didn't do something right, but we're going to have to flip it over and get to the bottom of the pan on the transmission side. Anyways, that'll be part 4. Thanks for watching, and give me a subscribe if you like these videos.